Welcome to Barbecue Catering Smarts, the go-to podcast for barbecue operators looking to grow and streamline their catering operations. Every episode, we're serving up expert advice, proven systems, and flavorful strategies straight from top leaders in the barbecue and catering world. So fire up the pit. It's time for another sizzling episode.
Hello again, I'm Michael Attias, your host of Barbecue Catering Smarts, and today's guest is Stuart McClean, founder of BaQ-Bone BBQ and Catering. With years of experience building a barbecue business centered around quality foods, strong customer relationships, and reliable execution, Stuart knows what it takes to deliver memorable catering experiences at every level. From managing large events and maintaining consistency under pressure to building systems that support long-term growth, he brings a practical operator-first perspective on what it really takes to run a successful barbecue catering operation, and we're excited to have him on the show today. But before we get started, let's take a minute to recognize our sponsor, Catering Catering Software. They help barbecue restaurants turn their catering chaos into calm. Discover why barbecue restaurants trust CaterZen to save them time and increase catering sales. Go to caterzen.com and sign up for a walkthrough of the software. Now let's dive into this episode of Barbecue Catering Smarts. Welcome, Stuart. How's it going?
I'm doing good, Michael. How are you?
Good. Thanks for being here today. We probably could have just gotten face to face since we're probably a couple of miles from each other. You're
Absolutely.
over East Germantown. I'm in East Nashville. So I like to start everyone off with an icebreaker question. Give me a number between 1 and 300.
A 13.
I don't think I've ever had that one. If you could relive your childhood in some other country than your own, what country would you choose and why?
That's a good one. If I could relive my childhood in any other country, I would say Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, nice.
My father's from there. I've only visited a couple of times, but I really enjoyed my trips there. I think that would be an amazing place to live as a kid for sure. So,
I'm assuming, is it in the Caribbean?
it is. It's in the Caribbean. Yeah.
And very tropical, beautiful
Very
waters.
tropical, beautiful water. You can get fresh fish right on the water.
Oh, nice.
The weather's always warm, so it's a cool place to be.
Very cool. I was born in France, so
Okay.
I've been there a handful of times as a kid and then more as an adult. And I don't know that I would give up. I grew up in Memphis. I had a great childhood. Like we
Yeah,
ran the
I agree.
streets. When I was a kid, you leave at the crack of dawn and not come home till night, and you go in the woods and ride your bike
Yeah,
and do all sorts of stuff. And I don't know that I would give up my childhood.
yeah, I agree. If I had to live someplace, that would be it. But my childhood was the exact same. I grew up in rural East Texas, in a small town called Tyler, and it was the same way. Going in the woods, staying out till right before the sun went down, the street light
Right.
came on. That was your indicator to go back in the house when the street light came on. So, but
Yeah. Do
yep,
you have kids?
yeah, I have two.
How old?
My kids are 8 and they'll be 8 and 5 this summer, so they're 7 and 4 now. Yeah.
I used to say my mom let me run the streets when I was 5, which is
Yeah.
probably, child protective services today. But I think
Right.
kids, they miss out on that independence of fending for themselves and
Sure,
learning
sure.
how to work with your friends and being creative. Like we would take scrap pieces of wood and pallets and build forts and all sorts of stuff that kids
Yeah.
today, they're just playing video games and they're missing out on so much. We'd go fishing. We had a couple ponds in our neighborhood,
Sure.
catch tadpoles and, toads and whatever. So I just feel kids today, like, I think probably because of all the news, you're scared to let your kid out past the mailbox that they're going to get abducted. They probably got equally abducted when I was a kid, just nobody
Yeah,
knew
for
about
sure.
it.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't on the news or Instagram, so we didn't have any reports of it. So I think there were a lot of missing children posters up back in the day, but it wasn't publicly, the knowledge wasn't there for
If
it.
a kid got kidnapped in California, you knew nothing of it.
Yeah, sure. Is
Now,
that where you grew up?
no. I grew up in Memphis. My
Okay,
father
sure,
got,
sure.
yeah, he got he got recruited with a company out of Memphis. And so that's where I spent my childhood. And then I moved up to
Okay.
Nashville. I worked for Corky's Barbecue in college and was one of their first
Nice.
franchisees. So how did you end up in Nashville from Texas?
So I got recruited to play college football here at TSU. and decided to just stay in Nashville. I enjoyed it. I met my wife in college, and we just made Nashville home. So that's how I ended up here. It was a cool journey to come from Dallas into a smaller town, which I was kind of used to. But when I got here, I thought I was going to see a bunch of people riding horses. I thought it was going to be like so so country music, and it was exact opposite of what I expected Nashville to be. So it was
What
cool. It was a
year?
cool experience. I
What
got
year
here in
did you come here?
2006. In 2006.
Yeah, there. Nashville's come a long way in 20 years. A long
Yeah,
way.
I agree. I agree. I
I
agree.
mean,
It's a completely different city.
2006. It was. I mean, it was probably safer than when I came to town to go downtown, but it's nothing like it
Yeah,
is now. And now there's so many high rise. I don't even recognize the city. Can't keep up with all the restaurants.
it's
It's
ridiculous.
it's crazy. So that's awesome that you made a home here and you got in at the right time. So
Sure.
tell me how you ended up in the barbecue business.
Sure. So initially coming from Texas, the barbecue in Nashville was just so different than what I was typically used to. There was more beef. We do more beef. You didn't really get good brisket here. There weren't any places you could really get smoked turkey here. So it was confusing to me when I got here. So my great uncles back home in Texas, they're pit masters, and I would kind of watch them growing up. And my mom actually bought me my first grill, so we used to grill on our back porch. And so she showed me
In
how to
Tex
work
in
the grill
Texas or here?
in Texas. In Texas, yep, in
So
Texas.
what was
So
your first
this was in
grill?
high school, so like 16 or 17.
Nice.
Uh,
What was
yeah,
your
so I've
first
been
grill?
grilling on a Weber kettle. It was a Weber kettle.
So did
We
you offset cook on that thing?
I didn't start offsetting cooking until I bought my house here in Nashville. So I bought what was it, like 2014, yeah, around 2014, 2015. As a move-in gift, my wife bought me an offset smoker. She bought me an Oklahoma Joe. And so I learned
He's
to
a
cook.
client of ours.
Oh yeah?
Good
That's
guy,
amazing.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned to cook on an Oklahoma Joe in the backyard. So I started smoking meats on the Oklahoma Joe. And eventually I was like, well, there's this place back home called Greenberg Smoked Turkeys. They're world renowned. They ship turkeys around the world, all over the country and all over the world. They were even on Oprah, so they're
Oh
very,
wow.
very popular. And I miss that flavor of smoked turkey that we get back home. So I started trying to make my own version of that here. And it got really popular. So like every Thanksgiving, I would sell more and more turkeys. I remember selling like 5 or 10 turkeys to 20 or 30. And then one year I sold close to 50 turkeys. So I was just like,
Wow.
I've got something here, you know? So I started taking like small catering gigs after that, trying out my hand at brisket and ribs. I was good at cooking ribs and stuff like that already, but it took some time to like perfect my brisket, which I'm known for now. But that's kind of how I got my start, just in the backyard, like everybody else, just taking a shot at a lot of YouTube videos, and just over the years, just got
I
better and better.
I think that's a common thread.
Yeah,
I got into the business because I waited tables at Corky's, but I grew
yeah,
up, my parents had a Brinkman smoker, little dome
okay,
kettle. They used to do turkeys, at Thanksgiving. And
yeah,
then
sure,
um I would say I had one of those. I was in a cooking competition for beef ribs, and we had to use a Weber. So I
sure,
sort of retrofitted. We cooked across from the coals and had a water pan, and those beef ribs were fire. My son will tell
yeah,
you best beef ribs
yeah,
he's ever had. It was phenomenal. But
sure, sure,
obviously it's a big it's a big leap from making stuff in your backyard for friends and family to
yeah,
starting a business. Uh, you know,
absolutely.
coming from a football background, how do you feel that contributed to your business?
Absolutely. So I would say discipline. So in college we used to have to get up super, super early. I'm talking about sometimes 5:30 to make early morning workouts. We stay up late watching film until, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and have to be back up the next day, study hall each day. So it created a certain level of discipline that I've implemented in my business. So when I start up my pit, it's usually early in the morning, same around that same time, sometimes 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And I've kind of implemented that into my business as well as my staff. So even though they don't like getting up early, I'm like, hey, if I'm up early, you guys got to get up early too, so we can get our day started. Um, I think usually if you get up before 5 a.m., it's a lot quieter. You don't run into traffic. So we're able to do a lot of the heavy lifting early in the morning before people are moving around. It just makes our workflow a lot easier. So I would say that discipline from getting up early mornings for football is what really created a structure for my business moving forward. So
Oh, that's cool. I've always been an early morning person. Like I'd rather get up and cracking and done early. And like you
yeah, sure.
said, when my kids were growing up, sometimes I'd be in my office at 4 in the morning and
Yep.
I could get 8 hours worth of work done in 2 hours. There's no interruptions, there's no phone
Yep.
calls, there's nobody asking you anything. You can just get in the zone. Now, you've got a food truck in Germantown, so
Yes.
that's 10 minutes from my house. Literally, I might have to
Sure.
come check you out.
Definitely.
What you only do the food truck one day a week, you told me?
We do it food truck. Yeah, we do the food truck one day a week. As we staff up and we kind of ramp up for the summer, we're gonna start adding Saturdays consistently. We've been doing like pop up or two on Saturdays at the brewery as well. Mainly doing brunch. But yeah, right now just Fridays. Eventually, we plan to open more days a week, but for now, just Fridays. Mhm.
And do you have a smoker on the truck or do you smoke in a commissary and bring it out?
We smoke at the commissary and bring it out. Eventually, we're actually working on a second trailer with a pit on it, and that way we'll be able to just do everything on site. And so probably within the next 6 months, we'll have that completed and ready to go. So
And so this is a full-time business for you?
yep, it's full time, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So
So what percentage of your business is catering versus what you sell out of the truck,
I would
to
say about
individuals?
85% of our business is catering. We do more catering than anything.
And so
And we
during
just
the
opened up.
week, are you doing more drop-off or full service events?
Mostly drop offs during the week. From time to time, we do have full service events, but we do a lot of catering with the food truck itself. So we actually bring the food truck out to do events as well. Let's say a client wants us to cater for their office party or their lunch. They're paying for lunch for the day. We'll bring the truck out and do that. A lot of businesses around town hire us to bring our truck out for lunch. So we do stuff like that during the week.
But you do a lot of drop-off as well?
We do a lot of drop off as well. Yes, sir.
So
Yeah.
what is the profile of the drop-off customer and how did you build that business? Because usually that business is built because of bricks and mortar, right? You have a
Yes,
building
sir.
on Germantown, people come and eat there, and then they want you to come cater to their office. You don't have that built-in
Mhm.
foot traffic. So how'd you build the drop-off business, and who are you selling to in the drop-off arena?
Sure. So I started, so what was it? Maybe 3 years ago, I did Fuda. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but essentially you set up and do a pop-up at different office buildings around town. So I did that for about a year. It went really, really well. We were one of the top grossing businesses on the platform in Nashville, so we did really well. But it just got to be too overwhelming because we were like at two different spots at one time.
Wow.
And it was trying to manage staff and staff enough food for both sites. It just got to be really busy. And so I built a lot of the connections through that with like my corporate clients. And then just word of mouth, people have been sharing the business. We did something at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center to help us get a lot of exposure as well. We did one of
Oh, nice.
their programs, and we graduated from that. So we've gotten a lot of clients from being a part of that. And then we just, we talk about it when people come to the truck and let them know, like, hey, if you have anything you need catering for, give us a shout. This time of year, we're getting ready to go into the summer, so we'll be doing like a lot of family reunions and different things like that. And then we just have repeat customers we built rapport with. And then there's a few apps like you have your Cater Cow and your what is the other one that we use? There's another one that we use quite
Do
a
y'all
bit
do
that
easy cater?
we do Easy Cater. So there's a few different avenues that we use to kind of get ourselves out there some more. That's kind of helped us build that book of business for weekly catering. So
So the people you're doing drop off for, I would imagine it's feast or famine, right? Like, do you have a minimum, like, hey, on a Monday we shut down and we only work 3 days a week? Or, are you going to go in for somebody says, I just want to order drop off for 15, you got nothing else on the books, you're going to go in, make it happen, and then the next day makes up for it? How does that work?
No, so we're typically closed on Sundays and Mondays most times. Usually those are our rest days. I go to church every Sunday, so that's the first thing we do. And then Mondays is usually our like planning period day and day of rest. Really, we have a staff meeting on Mondays. We kind of check the calendar, make sure we don't have anything on the books for that day. Usually, if we do have something on the books for that day, it's like something we booked out months in advance. But typically, we don't do anything on Mondays except for like creating shopping lists and ordering from like our providers to make sure that our supplies are there for the week. Tuesday, we're doing um, catering orders and deliveries. And then Wednesdays and Thursdays, we're doing prep for the food truck on Friday, or if we have any other things going on that week, we'll do the drop offs and stuff. But typically, we have a minimum. Our minimum for pickup catering is 750, and our delivery minimum is 850. So if it doesn't meet that criteria, we won't touch it. Just to
So you have
yeah,
a
get
minimum.
the
It's not like a barbecue restaurant that you could do a $200 order because you've got the food. So it's got to be worth your while
yep,
to fire
yep,
it up.
yep. Yeah, it's got to be worth our while to fire it up. Again, we're still doing craft barbecue, so I'm cooking everything fresh.
Wow.
So typically, like a lot of the providers that we use for the weekly caterings, they usually give us a week's notice. So I have a catering drop off tomorrow morning, and we knew about it last week, so we'll have all the prep done for it. We started the prep yesterday, so it's already done. I'm finishing up the proteins today, so we'll get everything ready for tomorrow, and we'll drop it off tomorrow at around 11. It's boxed lunches. It's our least favorite caterings because it just takes more
That's
time to
a
do.
lot of labor. A lot of labor.
Yeah, yeah. But it's usually like 40 to 50 people, so it's okay with a couple of people doing it. Um, I really don't like doing box lunches, but that's how this provider requires us to do it. So, and I'm like, hey, we can offer this at a way better price if you buy it in a tray, and we
We
can
used
just
to
drop
say
it
the
off.
same thing, and people get it's hotter, and if somebody wants a little bit more, they get a little bit more, and
Yeah,
what
yeah,
have you.
yeah.
So you said you go to church every Sunday. I've just got to ask: Are you AME? Do you go to an AME church?
No, no. I go to it's the church I go to is called One City. It's a non-denominational church. So
Okay. The reason I ask is right across the street from me is an AME church, and
okay,
I've always worked with the pastors at that church, and
sure,
one of them's a good friend of mine. Well, they combined that church with another church, and they took the preschool from the other church, and now we have a preschool across the
nice,
street. Yeah, it is nice. My fiance and I went to Costco and bought some snacks for all the kids. Super
nice,
super cute
nice,
kid.
nice,
We brought the black lab over there, and the kids went crazy to play with the
nice,
dog.
nice, nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So, besides the marketplaces and the word of mouth, what have you done to build your business? Like, do you knock on doors? Do you network? Do you communicate with your like, how, that's always the biggest issue in any business, right? How do you
Yeah,
build sales?
yeah, yeah. So I think it's ever evolving. I've done a little bit of everything. We pass out flyers, we knock on doors, we cold call, um, whatever we can do. Honestly, I'm actually getting ready to employ a virtual assistant to do some outreach for me to kind of increase our weekly sales during the week when we're not doing our food truck stuff or events. So just to kind of add something else to that as we bring in more people on the team, that's one of my goals is to increase our revenue. We're getting a second truck soon, so the other part of it is making sure that we can support the growth. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm doing that. But mainly word of mouth. I've found good results with TikTok ads. Surprisingly,
Really?
I don't want. Yes, I've done really well with TikTok ads. You'd be surprised. I've
Selling
tried
turkeys or selling catering?
catering,
Really?
catering, and just getting people to the food truck. Like TikTok has been great.
Yeah,
The
I could
ads
see
aren't
that for
super
the.
expensive.
Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, yeah, for sure. The ads aren't so super expensive. They're like You can do as little as like 10 to 15 bucks a day. And I usually run them like 2 or 3 days in a row, nothing too long. So for like less than 100 bucks, I can run an ad for like 3 days. Um, and that's done really well for us. So I have gotten some catering leads from it as well. And then there's a lot of like listing stuff you can sign up for. There's a lot of you've got like all the food truck apps. They have a lot of catering leads come through those consistently. Um, so they're all over the place. It's just a bunch of different things that we employ to get
Yeah.
leads. Mm.
So one of the things I used to do is, I like to sample my food because if they taste it, they're
Sure,
going to want it, right?
sure.
And um, now everybody goes out and does sample luncheons. Well, I didn't have time, didn't have the staff to do it. So if it
Mhm.
was a big enough event, I'd say, hey, come eat lunch with me in the dining room. And so what's
Sure,
coming to
sure.
mind for you is every Friday you're in Germantown, you got plenty of food. You know,
Sure.
I'm thinking go to all the businesses within a 10, 15-minute drive, right? So go to Metro Center. There's a million people who order in lunch and
Yeah,
invite
sure.
those people who order in lunch to come get a free lunch on you on Friday.
Yeah, sure. That's a
They
good idea.
taste the food
Great.
and, you get a few minutes to chit chat with them, make a connection because, you come across very personable. And if the food's good,
Mhm.
there could be an opportunity. So that's the first thing. Metro
Definitely.
Center is a gold mine, as far as offices
Definitely.
and
Definitely.
then we haven't even talked about downtown is just a
Yep.
stone's throw away, the government building.
Yep.
So literally, if you just prospected the businesses in downtown and Metro Center and, invited 5 new people a week, 10 new people a week to come get a lunch on you and build
Yep.
that database, you probably have more business. You, you wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm actually going to try that. So we typically open at 5, so a lot of the businesses are closing for the day, but I may just start opening a little earlier in the day, maybe around lunchtime on a Friday, and just have a Friday that we're doing exclusively that. We're just marketing, and that may work. Definitely,
So
that
why
might
aren't
give
you
it a
open
try.
for lunch?
Well, mainly a lot of times because I'm cooking stuff fresh, I'm usually finishing up cooking food for the day. Um, and so like my briskets, I usually cook Thursday and they hot whole, but a lot of the like my chicken or some of my ribs, I typically like to do those the day of. They just taste better, in my
Yeah.
opinion. And I want to always give the best product possible. And so definitely it's on my schedule to eventually start opening earlier and earlier. It's just, I really feel like even though I have staff with the cooking part of it, the smoking part of it, I'm a one man band. So it's just that part of it. It has to be. I'm a stickler about that piece. I'm like, hey, this has to be right, or I won't serve it. So, it's as I
It's
get over that.
Well, you might need to put a little smoker in your truck, like a little Southern
Yeah,
Pride or something, so you can smoke those things, while you're
yeah,
prepping up and doing everything, and those
sure.
are on site, and the other stuff. The other thing that comes to mind is, do you make barbecue nachos or
We
baked
do. Yeah, we
potatoes?
can make. And we do. So a lot of our caterings are barbecue nacho. I mean, our tacos or our loaded potatoes. We do a lot of catering with those. So they're easy to kind of grab and go.
And they're
And so
filling.
then yeah, yeah. People get a lot of typically we do a lot of so we go to like Howard School and do lunch service sometimes. When we do like the lunch service during the week, a lot of times we're doing like a smaller like uh menu of our full menu for the truck. So we're doing like loaded nachos, we're doing the potatoes, we're doing the smoked wings, things we can get out pretty quickly. Um and it's usually just like either one of those items. It's not all three. It's like, all right, we're doing loaded potatoes today, or we're doing nachos. We were like, well, I can't get a beef rib today for lunch. No, you got to go to the truck on Friday for that. But today we're
Yeah,
doing a potato with either chicken, pork, or turkey. This is your options.
yeah, and it's good to have that scarcity. Like I
Yep,
always want Chick-fil-A on Sunday.
yep, 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 yep,
So if they know they can only get the beef ribs on Friday night,
yep. Yeah.
and so what else? What's next? Do you see getting a brick and mortar building? Do you
Um,
like the focusing on catering and having the portability of not being stuck in a location and that paying that rent every month? Where do you see the what next for you?
So what's next for us is to expand our catering business. Like I said, we're working on a second truck. we've ordered a commercial smoker that should be ready soon, so we'll be picking that up soon. And I'm really going to focus more on catering and events, doing some larger festivals. We're doing Tomato Fest this year for the first time.
Oh, nice.
Uh, so we're doing a lot of like, that's going to be kind of what I'm going to lead into. Maybe doing some traveling and doing some things outside of state. Um, and less, I would say less everyday service. I feel like everyday service is cool, but it has a limitations. Weather kind of hampers business in the winter months. It's like watching paint dry, waiting on people to come to a food truck. So it's like instead of focusing more on opening more days and marketing towards having a food truck open more days, I really want to focus on just continuing to grow catering because we know exactly what we're going to get from that. We don't have a lot of waste. The staff seems to love doing catering versus sitting on a truck for 6 hours. So it's just easier on us. I'm a dad too. I have two small children, so with my schedule, they're playing sports and things like that. So I want to make more room to do those type of things with my kids and not be working all the time. So
And
it's more about
that's
life balance. I
important.
mean, than anything. Yeah,
That's
yeah, for
important.
sure.
You can't get that time back with them. And the good thing about catering is you can massage it around to your lifestyle. And, if you got a good crew, you don't have to be on every event or deliver every
Absolutely.
event, so there's a lot of flexibility.
Hmm.
So I know you have a background in mental health counseling, substance abuse. Is that correct? Did I read that right?
That is correct. Yes.
And so, um, you've got two very diverse backgrounds, right? Athletics, mental
Hmm.
health counseling. How has the mental health counseling aspect of your background, how has that helped you in running and growing a business?
So one thing I've always done working at any business and also watching my parents, both my parents were entrepreneurs. My mother was a hairdresser and my father is a visual artist. So they're both were entrepreneurs. So I had, um, good people to watch and learn from. But one thing I always did it didn't matter what job I worked at, I always paid attention to how they ran a business. It didn't matter what you're doing. There's some money's being exchanged. So I did a lot of research and just a lot of observation when I worked those jobs. But I would say what's helped me manage my business is to understand my own mental health a lot of times and just kind of be super hyper focused on like, hey, tomorrow's gonna be better than today. Even if I have a bad day and I'm not feeling it or I'm stressed out, I always think about tomorrow's gonna be better today than today. And really focus on my mental health. Like it's very important to make sure that your mental health is important when you're running a business because it gets stressful. As you know,
That's a great
some months
that's a that's a great point. I think
yeah,
sometimes people just run themselves ragged. Luckily, I've
exactly.
always done everything in moderation and never fully overdone it.
Yep.
Probably seeing my dad work too hard, work 5.5 days a week, kill himself. My mom, we went bankrupt. My mom had to go back to work. She was a breadwinner for a while.
Yeah.
And, just seeing that stress, that extra money is not worth the stress. I can tell you
It's
that.
not. It's not. Yeah, I've gotten to the point now where I'm turning things away. If it doesn't align with what I want to be doing and if it doesn't make sense for the business, I'm just like, nope, we're past. And we get opportunities all the time. And I just like, hey, this isn't the right opportunity for us, it's not worth the extra stress. And
You bring up a good point. One of my mentors say one of the most important skills is knowing what to say no to.
exactly,
Because,
exactly.
when you're trying to build a business, you want to say, yeah, I'll do this. Yes, I'll do that. And then you look back and go, shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done
Yeah.
that. It either didn't fit with our core business, our values, what we should have done for profit. Sometimes
Yeah.
you're just chasing that dollar, but you don't really realize the price you pay, or that,
Yeah,
hey, it's not as profitable as you think it is. And if
absolutely.
you'd said no, you would have freed up the time for something else. It would have been
Mhm.
profitable.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, how do you feel your background helps you in understanding and dealing with people? Because there's an old saying like, somebody you date somebody who's a therapist. It's like, are you psychoanalyzing me, right? So,
Yeah, sure.
do you do you feel that helps you dealing with your team, your customers?
I would say yes. And I also my grandfather growing up taught me how to deal with people. He grew up in the he worked for NCR as a cash register tech in the South, and he
Wow.
used to always have to deal with people all the time. And I just kind of watched him and observed him, and a lot of the same mannerisms he had, I have. Like I'm very personable. I like talking to people. I'm very approachable, and I'm very easygoing. And I think that spirit carries on to me, and I think that's what helps me interact with people in a way that feels natural and not forced. A lot of times people can be kind of standoffish when you meet them. I'm not like that at all. I'm super easygoing. I think my size sometimes scares people. I'm like 6'4", like 320. So people will look at me like, "Oh, that's a big guy." But a lot of times I'm really, really nice. I love to talk. My wife says I'm too talkative. So I think that's kind of helped me. And I typically don't try to psychoanalyze people at all. I just don't have the time for it.
Yeah,
I will say,
don't you think naturally you have a read on people because of your background? Maybe you're not
I agree.
trying to psychoanalyze them, but how can you not work with people and personalities and not just on a like a natural level? You can read people instantly and know
Yep.
what they're about and what their motives are, and
I I agree. I do subconsciously, I would say I definitely do subconsciously. Um, I also working in that field, you also get burned out too because you're dealing with other people's problems and issues all the time. That's part of the reason why I decided to step away and just focus on like it started draining me. You're having to deal with people dying and different things that happen in that space. And it can be overwhelming. I don't know if like maybe even firefighters or something like first responders, they go through a lot of the same things because they're
yeah,
dealing with so much different things that tragic things that happen to these people all the time, and they internalize a lot of those things. So, working in especially in substance abuse, I dealt with a lot of like very traumatic stories, and at some point it just got to a point where it was too much. I'm like, hey, this isn't. I can't do this anymore. Um, and so I kind of cut part of that off in my brain. So, like I said, I may do it subconsciously, but um, I'm probably going on 9 years removed from that. So it's kind of a phase of my life where it's not as prevalent,
yeah.
and I don't practice it every day. So it's not. I don't deal with it as much. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I think, you probably innately can read people. And so,
Yeah, for sure.
you
Yeah,
pick
I
that
agree with
up.
that.
But
Hmm.
what's interesting, I'm sure dealing with people's regular problems is like 1/10 of dealing with somebody going through substance abuse and sobriety. And, you
Yep.
know, you got somebody who's coding out and just all sorts of shit that you deal with. I'm sure it is just
Mm.
physically, emotional draining, where barbecue, like, I'm eating, I'm happy. Like
Yeah, exactly.
unless your food
Exactly.
sucks, I'm not complaining. Like I got a
Yeah,
good
for
plate of
sure.
nachos, I'm happy. So it's a
Yeah,
whole
exactly.
it feeds your soul when people are happy with what you're producing. And I think it's the same
Absolutely.
whether you're a backyard cook and your friends come over and they're raving about what you're grilling out, or whether you have a restaurant or catering company. There's a lot of satisfaction knowing that, hey, I made this, I made all these people happy. Um, I prefer happy businesses to sad businesses.
I agree 1,000%. You posed a question of what makes me tick. That's it. Seeing people smile when they try the food, try it for the first time, and they're just at awe how good it is. We've had some people come to the food truck recently from like around the country, and it's been shocking to see that like people know about us and they want to try the food. We had a couple family come in from Minnesota. They were like, "Hey, we were trying to find you." They had been calling the business line while we were on the truck trying to find us, and they found us, and they really enjoyed the food. We had some people come in from Brazil and try the food last weekend.
Wow.
So it's just crazy to see like people are from around the world are getting to try our food. So that's amazing. Um, Food is worldwide. It's I think it is the bridge that kind of brings the world together. And so with that being said, just being able to experience the joy that people get from the food that you bring is obviously barbecue is a comfort food. So, you know, allowing people to see that and enjoy the food and just live in that moment, that's what really makes me tick, you know.
That's exciting. And what I've seen over and over again is like there's no such thing as get rich quick in the food business, right? It's
at all.
you build a reputation, and then one day you're going to be 30 years down the road, and you're going to have this and that going on, and you're going to be in grocery stores, and people go, "Oh man, look at him! He's an overnight success," and they don't remember you're sweating it, cooking 5 turkeys in your backyard, hoping that they get
Exactly.
out good, right? They don't see the
Yep.
journey, and I'm sure sports teaches you the perseverance, right? Because you got to work hard. There's no shortcut to being a good athlete, right? I mean,
Not at all.
there's not an easy button. Yes, some people are more gifted than others, but even the most gifted guys, Michael Jordan, he hit the gym every day. Kobe, I mean, these guys
Every
are
day.
working hard. They're not resting on their laurels, right? To be the
Yep.
GOAT, you got to put it in every day. And I think a lot of
Yep.
people, they give up way too quickly. They
Yeah.
don't see
Yeah.
that, like, you just stay after, you do a good job, the world's going to obviously it helps to market yourself and get your name
Yeah.
out there. But, well, that's exciting. We'll have to come check you out. I don't know if
Thank
we're gonna have time before we leave town for the summer, but if not, when we're
Yeah.
back, super exciting. Well, I appreciate your time, Stuart,
Absolutely. I
and
appreciate you
good
having
talking
me.
with you. What?
Thank you. I said
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks.
You've been listening to Barbecue Catering Smarts, where we bring you the best ideas, stories, and strategies from across the barbecue catering industry. We hope today's episode sparked new insights to help you refine your systems, elevate your customer experience, and grow your catering profits. For more episodes and insights, be sure to subscribe, share, and join us next time.